Welcome, everybody. Glad that you could be here. I'm Aaron DeVore, the founder and chair of Transgender Studies, and also the Transgender Archives, and also the Trans History Forward conferences. You saw a little bit about all of that in the video that just went by. So we'll start with the territorial acknowledgement. We acknowledge and respect the Wapangan people, that's the Songhees, the Esquimalt, and the Saanich people, on whose territory the University of Victoria stands, and whose historical relationships with the land continue to this day. So the Chair of Transgender Studies at UVic is a research chair, and it's not the chair of the department. There is no department of Transgender Studies anywhere in the world, and in fact, this is the only research chair in Transgender Studies in the world right now. So we contribute to the development and communication of accurate research-based evidence and knowledge that we try to get to the people who will use it to build better policies and practices and make the world a better place. We also try to help to build strong and resilient trans plus social and cultural communities by having events that are not academic and giving people an opportunity to get together and experience things together. And in all that we do, we're committed to applying an intersectional lens to advance reconciliation, racial justice, equity, and inclusion for all. So our speaker is Stephen Davidson, and Stephen founded the London Trans Choir in 2017 and has been working with trans voices of all kinds ever since. Steve is a trained actor and a musician, and he brings a dynamic and flexible approach to voice work for all voice types. Through his work with the Tavistock and Portman Gender Clinic and their trans choir called Love Tank, did I get that right?
Two separate organizations.
Oh, okay. So the Trans Choir and Love Tank. All right. And with actors and singers from beginner to West End levels, which means very professional for those of you that don't know. He's worked with every voice type under the sun. So everybody here is welcome and falls under the sun. Stephen Davidson is a leading authority on Transmasculine Voice, and he's released his third book, Transmasculine Voice, a Guide to Vocal Euphoria 2024. So we're going to start with a 1-hour workshop for Transmasculine Voice, and after that there'll be a 15-minute break, and then we're going to have another 1-hour workshop for Transfeminine Voice. So please join me in welcoming Stephen Davidson.
So nice to be here. It's a nice, short, cheerful workshop, so I hope we get stuck right in. There's lots of people here and online who I think feel all have slightly different vocal goals. So I think I'm going to run the first half of this basically as I would somebody's first lesson with me, all the same kind of information, a handful of exercises. We'll talk a bit about different sort of parameters and what sort of tends to read a bit more masculine or a bit more feminine in a voice. As just said, there's a Transmasc workshop and a Transfem workshop, but also up to both mix and match. You can pick whatever voice you want. And there's one more caveat, which is just that what reads as masculine, what reads as feminine in a voice really varies in terms of like language group and accent and generation. So we'll play around with a few things, but like keep the stuff that works for you and then just gently dismiss the rest. Cool. We're going to start straight on in with a practical hands-on thing. Join in at home. I see all of you in the room, but it's going to be very gentle. We're going to start with some tiny little baby shoulder rolls, just really little ones. Just a gentle moment to remember that you have shoulders, basically. See what they feel like today. If they want a bigger roll, you can have it, but you don't have to. They're your shoulders, live your life. One of the big challenges and themes of voice training is physical awareness. It's a sense we call proprioception, so like taste or smell, but it's how you know where all your stuff is and what it's up to. And I always like to start with just a little check-in on that. When you feel done with your shoulders, just let them go nice and loosely, and they're just going to sit nice and gently for the rest of the hour, theoretically. We're going to do the same thing with our neck, as much or as little as you'd like to. Don't hurt yourself. But I like to do a little ear down to the shoulder. Just take a moment. We're stretching our neck because tension is nobody's friend, but we're also just remembering we have a neck, seeing what's in there, feeling those muscles. See if you can feel where that stretch begins and ends for you. If you're hypermobile, do these gently. A bit of movement is nice, but it's not an ear to the shoulder challenge. We'll do a tiny little roll around, just a little semicircle at whatever speed you'd like. We're noticing the muscles in the back of our neck, seeing how they feel. If anything is tight or sore, you can take an extra moment. Maybe take an extra breath here with your chin just kind of flops down. There are 7 vertebrae in the back of your neck, from the top of your spine to the base of your skull. Take a little breath there. See if you can imagine a tiny bit more space in between each of them. And mosey on around to the other side at your own speed. Feeling the muscles there. And rolling on around ear to shoulder, kind of like a mirror of where we started. Yeah. One of the delightful things about Transmasculine Voice is honestly 80% of it is just relaxing everything attached to your voice. So that's nice. There's a real absence of effort in coming across masculine. And I think we all just deserve a little back rub. You showed up. Classes aren't even on and you're here on campus. What is a way? Give everything a little squeeze. If anything feels tight or hard, you have time to give it an extra squish. Nobody's in a hurry. If it feels fine, congratulations. Take a little minute to just make a map of everything you can feel. There's so many little muscles and tendons in a neck. It's like, oh. Come around the sides if you want. You can go up the side of your head if you want. Maybe we have a little check-in with our jaw. It's very easy to clench your jaw without even noticing. A time like the present to give it a little bit of attention. Yeah. I feel like a lot of us have a gentle little grit to our teeth that we don't always notice until we suddenly pay attention to it. Gorgeous. The next thing we're going to do is to take our thumbs and squish just behind our head, still in front of your neck. You should not be choking yourself. Down here is the first really interesting bit. This is the base of your tongue. So our tongue takes this whole space up. It comes down way further than most people realize. And I'm super interested in the base of our tongue because it's attached to your larynx. This little bumpy cartilage bit where your voice lives. You can feel them move together if you just gently push your thumb up there and swallow. Weird, right? Gorgeous. So we want the base of our tongue to be really nice and soft and squishy so that our tongue can just kind of relax a little bit, stay a little bit lower, a little bit flatter, a little bit more zen, chill. And what that's going to do, it's going to make a little bit more space inside our mouth for some lovely warm resonance. And it's also going to help our larynx maybe sit a tiny little bit lower without us having to shove it down there. Voice work of any kind should never be like hard physical work. So we never want to be pushing anything really hard to make something happen. But if we can just relax everything attached to the larynx, it's going to sit a little bit lower all on its own. What a delight. Beautiful. We're going to do a couple more tongue stretches while we're at it. Stretch number 1, step number 1, stick your tongue out. If that feels fine, keep it out, gently try to yawn. If it's already a stretch, just stay there. Gorgeous. You should feel a really firm pull just there in the base of your tongue. Now that it's gone back in, take a little moment. That spot where you felt that stretch, you just keep it really nice and relaxed and chilled out for a second and just sit there for a minute. Just notice what that feels like. For me, everything in here just kind of drops down and back a tiny little bit. Beautiful. I have 2 more tongue stretches for you, classics. For For this one, you're going to put the tip of your tongue inside your bottom teeth and kind of bulge out the middle like this. Gorgeous. Stay there for a moment, feel the feelings. It's a good standard tongue stretch. If it feels really intense, stay there for a moment. Just do it gently, but stay there for a moment because it might be really good. Sometimes this stretch can feel intense, specifically if you have a tongue tie, which are statistically more common in our community. Beautiful. Our third tongue stretch is going to be a little bit of a side to side, like windshield wiper around your teeth, just inside your mouth like this. You can do top, you can do bottom, all around, whatever you like. Beautiful. Take a little moment. Do that until your tongue is like, I'm done, and then you're done. You might notice if you have a tight jaw, you feel a little bit of a pull at the ends of that movement. So if you're a jaw clencher, take an extra second here and really enjoy that, but do it gently. Just a gentle exploratory end of that movement. Gorgeous. Cool. All right. We're gonna make some noise. Please be brave. It's gonna be fine. If you're at home, you're on mute, so make as much noise as you want, I assume. We're gonna do a kind of a big, slidey, cowardly lion yawn like this. Over faster, so you want. 1, 2, 3, do it all together. Oh. Yeah, gorgeous. We're gonna do a couple more. Another nice breath. And yeah. Gorgeous. One more. Come down even slower. Be really luxurious about it and just kind of sit up there and enjoy how easy that is. 1, 2, 3, go. Gorgeous. And just take a moment. Notice everything being a little bit more relaxed. You can check in again with your neck and your shoulders. Make sure everything's just sort of stacked gently. We're not working too hard at anything. And everybody, all at once, you're just going to say a nice, boring sentence and just enjoy the lack of effort that goes into that sentence. The boring sentence is, hi, my name is whatever your name. I live in blank. And tell us what you had for lunch all at the same time. For example, hi, my name is Stephen. I live in London. I had a salad for lunch all at the same time. So no one has to be in front of the room. 1, 2, 3, go.
Hi, my name is Davidson. I live in Victoria.
Gorgeous. Magnificent. You're all in 2s and 3s. Great. Turn to a person near you. If that floats your boat, you don't have to, but take a little moment. Talk to them. How do you feel? What's it like to speak like that? What are you noticing as we do all of this?
Safety.
Gorgeous. Good chat. I'll cut you short because we have lots of stuff to say. But maybe 1 or 2 people, highlights. Did you notice anything interesting? How did it feel? I think the answer is no. Gentle curiosity. Relax.
Yeah.
Cool. Beautiful. Relaxed and vaguely self-aware is a great place to start any voice work from, but specifically trans mask voice, that extra little bit of space and chill and openness can really gently start leading us in a more kind of masculine spot before we even try to do anything, which is delightful. I love when I get a little bit of a freebie. This. So there's a few different things that we can tweak in terms of our voice to make it read more masculine or more feminine or somewhere in the middle. And I feel like we often tend to really focus on pitch, so how high or low our voice is, but actually there's loads of different things that affect how we perceive a voice. I know from years of experimenting that if I put my voice at a really low pitch, but I make it really bright and light, I can absolutely get myself manned on the phone, and vice versa, a really dark, thick sound up high will absolutely get me stirred on the phone. Because the pitch is just one little ingredient. So that's my opening offer. Don't worry too much about the pitch. It's probably going to be fine. Which is great news, particularly if you're not on T, because you don't necessarily need a super low voice to come across masculine, just like you don't necessarily need a high voice to come across feminine. A delight. But having brought it up, what does T do anyway? And what doesn't it do? Just in here, we mentioned it earlier, we've got the larynx. It's this little cartilagey bump in here. You can feel it if you're a hands-on kind of person, but you don't have to. There's a lot of bumps on your neck. The larynx is specifically probably the biggest one. And if you touch the top of it, there's like a little V-shaped cartilage there. You can probably feel it go up and down if you yawn and swallow. Neat, right? It moves a lot, which is delightful. Everything in here moves a lot, which is great. It means there's lots of things we can shift. A lot of the time, our voices are just the products of habit more than anything else, like our posture. I always say that and then suddenly remember I was about to. But it's a really good comparison because being able to stand up straight and having the habit of walking with great posture are two different things. And voice work is kind of the same. You'll probably find lots of cool stuff today. Taking the time to integrate it into your day-to-day life, if it brought you joy, is going to take a hot second, but it's totally doable. I got sidetracked because I'm excitable. Inside your larynx, you've got two sort of little bits of flesh called the vocal folds, and they come together like this to make the sound of your voice. I'm not going fast enough though. They come hundreds of times a second, but that's the vibe. When they go faster, the pitch goes up, and when they go slower, the pitch goes down. Pitch is just, it's just how high or low your voice is, nothing else. So when we take T, the main thing that happens is that those get thicker and heavier. Because they're heavier, they go slower, the pitch goes down. Physics. One thing that we tend not to get for free when we take T post sort of teenage years is the lengthening that will often kind of happen in a cis male puberty. We don't tend to get the larynx growing anymore because it's made out of cartilage, and your cartilage, it just stops growing at a certain point. Biology, what are you going to do? So one of the main things that we think about often with transmasc voice, whether you're on T or not, is just, can we make a little bit of that space that we didn't get for free the way cis people got it for free? So that's why, base of the tongue, we want it nice and relaxed, everything can kind of drop down. You felt how much that larynx can move. If it drops down even a couple little millimeters, that tube in there gets longer. It's a bigger space for that sound to resonate in. You can kind of think of brass instruments. If you imagine a tuba, it's a nice low sound, but it's also a very full, round, dark sound. And it's like that big. Whereas you've got a trumpet, which they can play a lot of the same notes, but the trumpet sound is very sort of bright and piercing because it's teeny tiny. Same thing here. We can adjust the length and we can adjust the width. So we've got loads of luxurious space in there. And that's going to change something that we call resonance. Resonance is just whether your voice is a little bit more bright. Bright sounds tend to come from smaller spaces, and if you want to be really nerdy, they have lots of high overtones, which you could see on a spectrogram. And darker sounds tend to come from a sort of a bigger open space, like that tuba. And if you want to get nerdy about that, they have fewer overtones. They're kind of just as they are. Does that make sense? Ish. Yeah. Bright and dark are slightly abstract concepts. So if you even have a vague image of what that is, you're probably fine. Cool. We're going to think a little bit about adjusting those and just see what happens. Good news, I have lots of silly exercises because I'm an actor and a voice coach. So hold on, this will be fun. First, can everyone please pretend to be a chihuahua? We're going to do a tiny little happy, excited dog pant like this. Neat. take a second, just notice everything that shifted when you did that. Like, how did you make that tiny dog pant? Probably a lot of things moved. For me, my cheeks are nice and engaged. My mouth is short and wide. My tongue came up. Everything in here is kind of smaller. My larynx came up and my air is going really fast. Loads of things. If you had even half of those, congratulations. So if we wanted to talk from that Chihuahua place, it's going to be a really bright kind of sound. I won't make you try it if you don't want to. You can for science. But now let's consider the slightly more masculine reading, usually opposite version, which is a Saint Bernard. Congratulations, you've been promoted to Saint Bernard. Take a little moment, and we're going to try to pant like a really big dog. Yeah, take a second. Notice everything that changed when you did that. For me, my cheeks relaxed, my jaw relaxed. This space is way bigger vertically. My larynx went down, and this whole space kind of went neat. Just for fun. Have another one or two big dog pants. Nice, slow, generous air. And let's say our boring sentence again, but as a Saint Bernard. Hi, my name is, etc. Whatever you said before. 1, 2, 3, go. Were those not some very butch grumblings? Nice. We're going to do one more thing around darkness, and then I'll give you a minute to experiment and chat with whoever your new friend or friends are. If you're at home and all by yourself, you can talk to us. It's fine. We won't hear you, but just pretend we can hear you and have a fun little chat all on your own into your camera. This time we're going to think a little bit about air. We were panting a little bit already with the air, but air is a really important thing to think about with voice because it's what makes it go. Science. First, can you hold your hand up to your mouth and blow really cold air like you're trying to cool down some soup? Beautiful, crisp, cold air. Nice and cold because it's going real fast through a small space. Now we're going to blow some really warm air, like we're trying to fog up a window. Beautiful. Nice and warm, going slowly through a big space. You might feel that your tummy muscles have to get a little more involved in that, especially right towards the end, because it does use up that air. Have another couple, and just like check in with those tummy muscles, check in with your spine. What's going on down there? Yeah. Nice. I love the idea of warm air in particular for Transmasculine Voice. It's very like nourishing, I find. And some of the other things that we tend to do, if we want to sound really masculine, can be a little bit like a bit much, a little drill sergeanty. And I feel like the warm air is it's a kinder version of masculinity, which is fun to kind of try to bring in. Using your warm air in a really nice, like warm, gentle way. Can you say your boring sentence 1 or 2 more times and just kind of feel what that feels like? Hi, my name is Steven, etc. Gorgeous. Pick whichever one of those felt better or easier or more natural, and maybe see if you can use that voice and have a gentle conversation with your friend. You can talk about voice stuff and how it's going, or like the weather, it's nice out. Also, dogs, they're great. 1, 2, 3, chit chat. I feel like it's definitely technically possible to speak really quickly with everything down, but there's just like a little bit of extra adjustment because, oh boy, did things love to squeeze up when we're talking real fast. All those little muscles around here that we use to form words and stuff are called articulators because they help us articulate. And they don't directly sort of affect this stuff that we're talking about, but the fun thing about bodies is everything's attached to something else, which is a hot take, but very true. So sometimes when one muscle gets really excited, all of its friends just want to come along for the ride. So yeah, absolutely. If you'd like to speak really dark and low and fast, you can do it, but it's just a little bit of this to figure out where that sits for you. Yeah, really good comment. Other thoughts? I'm gonna leave a long awkward silence just in case. Gorgeous. So that's one of our parameters. It's brightness versus darkness, which we're going to call resonance. If you forget any or all of these terms later, that's totally fine. If you just want to like live your life having a fun time being a Saint Bernard, great, love that for you. What is vocabulary anyway? We're also going to think a little bit about our vocal fold weight or thickness. You remember I said when we take to our vocal folds, little muscles, like a lot of the other muscles, beef up a little bit. They get a little bit thicker, a little bit heavier. But also, we can control our vocal fold weight. Because they're muscles, we can control how hard they're squishing together, which is kind of our main way we're going to think about this. We can have them really thick and full and using the whole of that muscle. We can have them just touching a little bit, supporting our voice. And if those muscles aren't helping at all, we're up here in our falsetto range or head range or whatever you want to call it. Doesn't matter. So we've got all of these kind of options. There's also a sneaky extra one, but we're going to start just with these for right now. First, let's think about a really soft, gentle vocal fold closure. They're very, very gently having a little moment with themselves. Please imagine you've just seen a kitten or something that you think is cute. And can we all together go, oh, isn't that nice? Yeah. And then just for fun, can you use your kitten voice, your oh, I just see something cute voice to say your boring sentence? 1, 2, 3, go. Gorgeous. So soft. So that's our vocal folds. Like having a gentle little moment. They're still working, they're still touching a little bit, but they're not like feeling beefy right now. That's the Latin, I think. Just for fun, let's try the opposite. Can everyone together go, uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yeah. Have a couple, take a minute, and just clock for yourself. What does that feel like? What's going on in there? Go. Yeah. What do you feel? For me, it's like a nice kind of buzz that goes on in there. You can probably even feel it if you put your fingertips lightly on your larynx. If you're a hands-on person, help yourself. Uh-oh. Compared with, oh, it still kind of buzzes on the ah beat. You can physically feel it's like having a gentler time, right? Just for fun, have one more. Uh-oh. And in your uh-oh voice, can you say your boring sentence again? You can change the sentence. I'm not going to know. Go. Uh-oh.
My name is Davidson.
Neat. I love doing this with groups because, like, I can't really hear what anyone's saying, but the general tone of the murmuring is so much. I think that's so fun. Beautiful. So that's thing number 1 to think about: a slightly thicker vocal fold closure, which we get a little bit for free if we're on T, but also we can make it happen. So that's fun. As with everything else, we want to do this to a nice, gentle extent. We're not here to like shout or be hollering all the time. Great way to strain yourself. But we're just feeling that nice little buzzy moment with ourselves. I have a second one. This is the kind of sneaky extra thing where a couple extra things are happening. I am going to invite you to sing, but you can sing a totally different note from the person next to you. It does not have to sound good. Just to get that for ourselves first. On the count of 3, everyone's just going to sing on an ah, literally any note. It can sound terrible. Doesn't matter for this exercise. 1, 2, 3. You will pick my note. That's fun. Cool. All right. Everyone's got good ears. Love that. Now I have a challenge for you. You're all going to sing that note or a different note if that's more comfortable. If that was like a bit high or a bit low for you, change it. Be my guest. Treat yourself. When I do this, you're going to make that note louder. When I do this, you're going to make that note softer. And your goal is you stay on the same note while you do that. 1, 2, 3, go. Gorgeous! Champions. I mean, everyone did it correctly, which is delightful. That almost never happens. Congratulations. Follow-up question. How'd you do it?
Air release
Great, cool,
variation.
nice, great. You blew harder?
Yes.
Great,
Yeah.
love that.
More came out when loud, less air came out when quiet.
Great,
Mm.
love that. What else happened?
The sound moved more to the front of my mouth when I was being louder.
Felt a little like different in placement.
Mm.
Gorgeous. I saw a little flappy hand go on.
Change in the overall like contact intensity mostly for me, like shifting to that thinner position as opposed to the thick position to get that perceived volume boost.
Did you go from thin to thick? What a fun! Yeah, great. Well spotted. Yes, correct. So when we change our volume, we kind of get the spin to thick for free, which is nice. Not everyone's a singer. If it didn't go perfectly at home, that's totally fine. But if you can do this, this is a really nice way to feel in real time that shift. You can even, if you put that note a little bit higher in your range, feel it go probably right over to this bit of our range where it's a little bit higher, kind of across that little clunky break bit in the middle. Cool. And one more fun little thing about that. So one more extra thing can sometimes happen when we do that, which is that our vocal folds can also, I'm moving sideways so you can see that they're going this way now. They can lengthen and thin and shorten and thicken a little bit. So we can also move them that way. Isn't that neat? Okay, so the primary muscles that do that are on the back of our larynx, and they're going to go to kind of pull our vocal folds a little bit longer and thinner, and kind of release to let our vocal folds get shorter. Now, we've all perfectly understood the physics before of the shorter, thicker folds can go a little bit slower. Longer, thinner folds can go a little bit faster, easily. But it also means that we can change how hard we're blowing. We can change our volume. We can change the lightness of our voice. So, just so we're doing it on purpose and having a fun little moment. This time, when you go louder, can you imagine the sound being really present and buzzy here? Maybe going forward a little bit. We're having a really kind of, sometimes I almost feel like a bullfrog kind of feeling. And when we get quieter, can you imagine your voice kind of pulling back so it's coming a little bit further back in your throat? Just to see what happens, just for science. Here's your note. 1, 2, 3, go. Cool. How did it feel? Did it feel any different? Silent nod. Great. Cool. So those are two things that we can think about for thickness of our voice. It's that that kind of closure that we get when we're consciously making those folds come together. We can also think about what happens when we change our volume and keep the pitch roughly at the same spot. Does that mean you have to shout constantly? No. But you could. Maybe try making some noise. See what happens. Because of the patriarchy, a lot of things that read masculine are just a little easier to do loud and vice versa. Sorry about it. Take a little moment, chat with your new friend. Maybe try using your slightly thicker, more strident sounding voice. Do it as hard as you can just for science, but maybe out in the real world, like a 7 out of 10 of this is sufficient. Go.
Confrontational.
Yes, good, good chit chat. Yeah, you gotta practice the loudness. Beautiful. Okay, so those are our two kind of main variables that we're going to talk about today, just as the sort of the two big entry to trans voice type of things. Just for funsies, you can try putting them together, see what happens. What if we have a really dark sound, and then we put a little bit more of that extra closure in? Whew, my tummy muscles definitely have to help with that. Do you have to do all of this as hard as you can constantly and make your most butch sound? No, of course not. Live your life. But we kind of think about them as being on a little sliding scale and just like find the spot where it's comfy for you, where it's not too much work and you like the sound. You're having a nice chill time with it. Beautiful. I said I'd leave time for questions because I'm a giant nerd. Ask me anything you'd like about voice, reasonably. And or comments about that, follow-up questions. I think there was a follow-up at the back.
Yeah, I was just wondering what the difference between the uh-oh and then you were saying something about the lengthening of the vocal folds, the shortening. Was that different? Or
Yeah.
I couldn't
It's
follow that.
So the lengthening and shortening thing, we tend not to do it as sort of consciously, so it can be a bit abstract. We talk about it a lot when we're teaching singing though. And so it's something that just kind of gets folded into trans voice. So our vocal folds, they go sort of forwards to backwards in our shanks, and they kind of come together like that. They're roughly the length that they are, but like any other muscle, they can stretch and contract a little bit. There's little muscles and bits of cartilage on the back called the arytenoids, and they can pull those vocal folds a little bit longer and thinner. And they can also relax to let the vocal folds get a little bit shorter and bigger.
So in the second example, we're using pitch more than loudness to make the thicker sound?
We use pitch in a sort of loud and soft thing, just because it's a fixed kind of point. If you're singing at one pitch, your vocal folds are going at a certain speed, and they're going to stay going at that speed. The thing that nobody did wrong with that, but I'll say it anyway. If we just blow harder, we don't just get louder, our pitch goes higher. We get which maybe some people at home got, and that's cool and fine. I ended up in a room of people who could sing. Great. Love that for me. So it's a little sort of, this is a little bit sciencey, but bear with me. So we're blowing our air up at our vocal folds, and then our vocal folds are closing against that stream, kind of like a valve, right? So if we blow harder, we need a little bit more weight and pressure to keep them going at the same speed. And if we blow softer, we need a little bit less weight and pressure. And the main way we do that is just by how hard we're squeezing them together. But we can also stretch them a little longer and thinner, which makes them lighter, so they can stay at the same speed, even with very little air, and vice versa. The getting louder and softer exercise, we're not going to talk at length about singing today because it's a less than an hour workshop. But if you're having that thing where post T, there's that big kind of clunk in the middle of your voice, that getting louder and softer exercise can really help develop the muscles that will help get you past that a little bit more smoothly. That's sort of, it's the go-to first exercise for smoothing out that break in the middle of the voice. Air quotes, because nothing's broken. I don't know why we call it that, but that's what most people call it. Does that make sense? I was very nerdy and granular, but I enjoyed it because this is my special interest. Another question or comment? How you doing? How's it all going?
We have a couple of questions from online people.
Great, shoot.
Yeah, so one was earlier on. It was how to avoid hurting our vocal cords when practicing speaking this way. And I think that was when you were doing the Saint Bernard.
Oh, yeah. So kind of, I'm going to take it back to the posture thing. When we're speaking, we're thinking about what we're saying rather than how we're saying it. So these like dozens and dozens of tiny little muscles that are involved in speaking are kind of just on autopilot. And as such, they kind of just have default positions that they like to sit in. Kind of like with our spine, it's just got a spot where it sits. We've got a way that we walk when we're walking. We're not thinking about how we're walking, we're thinking about where we're going. So if your like default muscle position is really small and tight, pushing open to that Saint Bernard is going to be like a really big stretch. It's going to be like if you go from prawn to military posture. It's not that military posture is inherently bad, it's that it's very different from what you were doing. So if the Saint Bernard thing was like a lot of physical work, maybe ponder like a Labrador to start with. Just like split the difference. Do a medium large dog, do something that's physically comfortable, and just settle into that for a little second before you try to push any further. Because, slow and steady. We're not here to strain ourselves. Yeah. What else?
Got one more online. A lot of my changes in voice seem to be subconscious. When I'm stressed, my voice ends up way up high. Are there any mental or physical cues you suggest in stressful situations to recalibrate the voice?
Ooh. That's a great question because it happens to so many people. Cis people too. Sorry about it. I really like to try and connect with my breathing in spots like that. I think the concept of warm air or literally just taking a breath or two that drops right down into your belly. I mean, it can be calming, but also if our voice is coming from down here, we're thinking about that kind of sound. And we're thinking about our stressful situation with our nice warm air. That'll often kind of help just deconstrict some of that. Some people also like to have little filler words or phrases that they practice in a certain like default setting. So if you tend to and ah a lot and you practice instead of and you just like make that part of your day-to-day habit, it can start to keep you coasting along where you'd like it to be. Good questions. Thanks, online people. There's about 30 seconds. Anyone else?
Going back to what you were saying about the volume exercise being a way of smoothing out the bumps or breaks.
Yeah.
Is that like across a scale, or is just like even doing that on one note gonna help with that?
Ooh, depends where you're at.
So I lost a chunk and then it will flip an octave unsupportive.
Oh wow.
Entirely.
Okay. Cool. I really like didn't bring a keyboard, but that's okay. I really like this exercise for that bit of the voice if it is developed enough. Oh, helps if I turn the volume on. Where we think about it's going to be a 5-note scale. This is nerdy and this is going to be for like 2 people, but bear with me. If we sing the bottom note in our chest voice, and then we jump up here with our head voice, and then we're going to reduce that. Still got our head voice. It's a little bit fluffy. And then we're going to try and do it on the same note. Yeah.
Oh, I can't do that. It might not offend me, really. I mean,
Can you sing that note?
that octave.
Yes. Up 1 octave. Think about the Star Wars theme. There you go. Found it. You did have that note. Yeah, but any exercise where you're kind of moving from one register to the other and trying to sneak them closer and closer. Firstly, it kind of gives you the control about where you're choosing to put that note. And then we gently want to, like over time, pull it so that we can move more smoothly from one to the other.
Okay.
So we're looking at getting used to using those head voice notes again because they're probably fluffy and all over the place. And having a a quality of chest voice that's a little softer, a little thinner, so that they kind of start to feel like they're more part of the same family and can maybe join up at some point in the future.
Yep,
Yeah,
great.
cool. That was longer than 30 seconds. Sorry, I kept you over. Dismiss! Thank you for having me. Have a good